In the early 1860s, a strike on Bear Creek and confluence with Clark Fork River brought many prospectors to the area. Another strike occurred in 1865, this time up Bear Gulch, which became Bear Town. Prospectors worked their way up creeks and gulches into the remote areas of Garnet Range, named for its semi-precious stones found in the area. Placer mining was the initial method. It required only the investment of a gold pan, rocker, or sluice box, items that could be easily hauled into remote areas or built on site. In placer mining, water is used to wash the sand and gravel away, leaving just heavier gold or precious metal behind. Small dams, diversions, ditches were often used to transport water for placer mining into various mining districts spread throughout the Garnet Range. The discovery of a 32-ounce nugget on Bilk Creek brought waves of additional prospectors into the mountains. A winter with heavy snow meant robust spring runoff and sufficient water for placer mining, but the dry years took toll on mining activities. By the 1870s, placer mining had become less profitable, yet some miners, such as Samuel Ritchie, persevered, having recognized that the area was rich with gold-bearing quartz. Still, the lack of adequate roads to bring in heavy equipment necessary for hard rock or lode mining, and the inefficient refining and smelting methods limited hard rock ore processing for another 2 decades. Silver mines elsewhere also drew miners away from garnets. The repeal of the Sherman Silver Purchase Act in 1895 caused silver mining camps to empty and miners to turn their focus from silver to gold. This event, combined with improved mining technology, led to a renewed interest in gold mining in the Garnet Range. Between 1890 and 1895, 40 lode claims were filed in the First Chance Mining District. Several mining claims were held by Dr. Armistead Mitchell and Charles Mussenbrod. In 1895, they built a 10-stamp mill in First Chance Gulch. The town of Mitchell was founded and later renamed Garnet. Road construction started that same year, eventually connecting Garnet with Bearmouth and Northern Pacific Railroad, which is now present-day Interstate 90. Soon after the stamp mill was completed, a rich vein of ore was discovered in Samuel Ritchie and Nancy Hanks' mine. The boom began, and miners poured into the high mountain towns. 4 stores, 7 hotels, 3 libraries, stables, 2 barber shops, a union hall, a butcher shop, a candy shop, and a drugstore, doctor's office, and assay's office. Numerous miner cabins, 13 saloons, and schools with 41 students comprised the town. Eager miners and entrepreneurs built quickly without planning, resulting in a haphazard community where most of the buildings stood on existing or future mining claims. Miners' cabins and many of the commercial buildings lacked foundations, an indication of haste which they were constructed and perhaps the belief that the town's future would be short-lived like most mining camps. Still, about 20 mines operated in a hectic atmosphere of hope and dreams. The boom was short-lived. By 1900, many of the veins had disappeared and deeper mine shafts made gold recovery extremely difficult and expensive. Many of the mine owners, including Ritchie, who had extracted an estimated $300,000 worth of gold, now leased the mines to others. It is estimated that between $950 to $1.4 million in gold was extracted from all the mines in Garnet by 1917. By 1905, many of the mines were abandoned and the town's population had shrunk to about 150 residents. In 1912, a devastating fire in the business district destroyed many commercial buildings and dealt a crushing blow to Garnet. When the United States entered World War I, many of the remaining residents were drawn away from Garnet to defense-related jobs. Cabins were abandoned, furnishings included, as though the residents were merely vacationing. Frank Davy still ran a store and the hotel stood intact. Garnet was revitalized in 1934 when President Roosevelt raised gold prices from $16 to $35 an ounce. With a higher price base and new extraction and refining technology, a new wave of miners moved into abandoned cabins and began reworking the mines and dumps. By 1936, Garnet had grown to some 250 residents. During its era, miners also constructed several new log cabins. Life was good in Garnet. That was not to last very long, however, because the onset of World War II in 1939 drew more population away. Wartime restrictions and the use of dynamite made mining almost impossible. The post office closed for some time in 1942. Only a few hardy residents remained, including Frank Davy. After his death in 1947, his general store contents were auctioned off. Still, much of the historic fabric of Garnet remained. However, souvenir hunters soon began stripping the town not only of loose items, but of doors, stained glass artifacts, woodwork, including the beautifully crafted oak banister and spindles in the Wells Hotel. The Bureau of Land Management and the Garnet Preservation Association intervened to secure title to properties with the goal of protecting, stabilizing, and eventually interpreting this important physical reminder of our mining heritage. Garnet is now recognized as one of Montana's most intact ghost towns, and thousands of visitors make the trek up the steep mountain roads each year to experience history firsthand. Society in Garnet differed from that of earlier mining camps. While single males were predominant in the early mining camps, Garnet had many families. Social life, therefore, was quite different. Although drinking, gambling, and houses of prostitution were still enjoyed by men, married women were far more numerous in Garnet. They rarely visited the saloons and only went to the business district to shop for necessary food and clothing. Also, unlike earlier camps, a schoolhouse was established in Garnet soon after its founding. A variety of social activities were available for the residents of Garnet. Family-oriented activities such as dinner parties, card games, and hay rides were common. Family picnics, fishing trips, and shopping trips took place during the summer months. Sleigh rides, sledding parties, and skiing were favorites of the wintertime. One of the largest community celebrations in Garnet was the annual Miners Union Day gathering held by the Miners Union Hall. Many of the social functions were held at the hall, which was completed in June of 1898. Community dances were held there every Sunday night, and in the early years of Garnet's history, there were often 3 to 4 social functions a week. The hall, with its one large room and small stage, was scarcely large enough for the crowd. Cooperators contribute to the use and management of Garnet. The Garnet Preservation Association, a nonprofit group, helps with interpretation and preservation. Granite County and Missoula County actively participate to enhance the use, safety, and management of roads in the Garnet area. If you find yourself in the area, be sure to stop in and see the Garnet Ghost Town in person. This video just does not do it justice, and it helps support the effort in preserving this town. All narration is read from the placards and from the pamphlet. Welcome back to Anything Outdoors with Steve. We are back at Garnet Ghost Town. So we're going to do a little refresher on this, kind of check it out, see everything up a little closer. That was the #1 comment. People wanted to see some of this stuff a little closer, more detail. So we're going to take a little time, read some of the informationals, some of the history on these places. This is actually a really cool cabin. They squared off the logs, got them pretty tight fit. All the chinking is gone, of course, but it's a pretty cool little cabin here. Got the loft up above. Window view. Garnet Ghost Town is one of the best preserved ghost towns in the area. They are still doing a lot of upkeep and rebuilding. There's a few structures that they're rebuilding.
They're trying to keep it.
I believe the fee now is $10 a person if you want to come view this. This is the first homestead site, so it's before you have the fee area. Sometimes it's hard to imagine coming to a place like this and saying, this is where we're going to build our home. This is a little late in the spring, but still springtime, and it's really dry already. Higher elevation too. The intent, of course, was for mining operations. You are very limited with where you're going if you're going for a mining operation, because you're limited to where the mine is. Have some wild strawberry blooms coming up. This is a family trip. Indeed it is. So with us today is the whole family. Got the crazy Brandon.
The whole family.
You may have seen him on such videos as Beehive. And got the wifey and other two. You got Jimmy and Jess in there. Jimmy, not Jimmy. Slammy, yes. Slammy Slammerton.
He's actually taking pictures.
Oh, okay. There's Slammy. See how they constructed this? They squared off all the logs so they'd fit on top a little tighter than what they normally do with the different types of construction. I don't believe so.
This is a shed.
Yeah.
Tyler, go in there and sniff.
Smells like asbestos.
I don't think you gotta worry about that.
Yeah. Before asbestos was a thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, which is why you often see structures being much smaller than what we have today. The stick framing trend has really been able to increase the size of some of these.
Nice mud.
In 1898, Garnet was a booming gold camp with nearly 1,000 residents. The town included 4 stores, 4 hotels, 3 livery stables to board horses, 2 barber shops, a union hall, a school, butcher shop, candy shop, doctor's office, assay office, and 13 saloons. The surrounding mountains were rich in gold-bearing quartz, so Garnet grew rapidly until about 1905, when many of its mines were abandoned. In 1910, census found only 150 residents, and in 1912, fire destroyed many of the commercial buildings, and by the 1920s, Garnet was considered a ghost town. Garnet is one of Montana's most intact ghost towns. It symbolizes an important era in Montana's hard rock mining history. Substantial effort has gone into stabilizing and protecting the remaining historic structures. It is. We'll have to take some photos of the brochure and post that. Steel-wheeled wheelbarrow. The dolls watched over the ghost town. Their presence helped to discourage vandals and others seeking to cart off historic artifacts. Marion Dow lived here through the mid-1960s. She holds a place in history as Garnet's last full-time resident, a speakeasy that defies prohibition. Visitors who rent the cabin here might consider a toast to Ollie and Marion Dahl. Before prohibition ended in 1933, this cabin operated as a speakeasy or underground tavern. Talk flowed freely here among miners who reopened some of Garnet's mines during the 1930s. Once the couple could legally start up Ollie's Tavern, they moved in here. Over the years, Ollie added a front porch, side porch, and kitchen, which replaced the back porch. The story goes that Ollie always resented the kitchen. That cost him his favorite porch. The fire started in Lyle and Fitzgerald's saloon in the Garnet Hotel, which stood across the street from today's staff cabin, and quickly spread. Without water, residents could do nothing to keep the blaze from the saloons, hotels, and shops. The first fire burned adjacent hotels on the south side of the main street, then jumped the road and destroyed everything on the north side but the Adams store.
It's so cute.
What about the cute stream flowing through?
I mean, it's all right.
It's not cute?
No,
Huh.
it's not. It doesn't have the right edging, I guess. Scenery.
It's gotta have the right edging.
The edging isn't right.
A road that ran beside Kelly's Saloon saved the bar, Davy's store, and the Wells Hotel. The fire consumed not only houses and possessions, but also any hope for economic recovery. The log cabins you see on the north side of the street date from the town's brief revival in the 1930s. Thirsty men walked through these doors as long as the building served as a saloon. Ornate woodwork.
I love seeing woodworking stuff.
Oh, I know.
It's amazing.
The woodwork back then is beautiful.
Yes.
Like it was seriously
Very artistic.
Yeah.
being able to carve that by hand. In 1898, L.P. Kelly paid $1,500 for the business. The owner at the time was Robert Moore, and it was called the Bob Moore Saloon. Inside, he poured drinks to miners ready to relax, play cards, and trade stories. Fearing their reputation would be tarnished, respectable women were not seen in any of Garnet's 13 saloons. They shared conversation and sometimes beer upstairs with Mrs. Kelly in the family residence, entering discreetly from an outside back stairwell.
They used the newspapers for insulation.
Yes. The house I was growing up in, same thing. They insulated all the walls with old newspapers.
You know, so if you have an old radio, or you
Yeah.
Just the cabinet, yes.
push this far.
Not include Kelly's Saloon looks as much as it did in turn of the century, except once a wooden walkway extended around the front and sides of the building. Streets were often muddy and dusty, and boardwalks were essential. Despite the coming of Prohibition in 1919, Kelly kept the saloon open until the mid-1920s, but departing gold miners meant less business. Part interest in the business was sold to Thomas Fraser, and it became known as the Kelly and Fraser Saloon. In 1907, Nellie Fraser sold it to Ward Molyneux, who resold it to the Montana Liquor Company in 1908, but Kelly continued to operate the saloon. It was one of the 13 bars in Garnet during the boom period that offered male-oriented entertainment. You'd never know it today, but Kelly's Saloon received major structural boost in 1992. For 100 years, the saloon survived fires, storms. However, rocks placed underneath each corner as a kind of foundation eventually gave way. The old building started leaning and slowly settled 2 feet into the ground. This unsafe structure on the verge of collapse proved the perfect challenge for stabilization. The Bureau of Land Management and Garnet Preservation Association fielded a crew that raised the building so that 2 foot of wall could be built underneath, then lowered the saloon back in place. Workers were seeking to retain the original materials and building techniques to freeze Garnet in time. So the women would enter a back stairway here, going upstairs to this door. The goal was to retain the ghostly nature of the abandoned buildings while preventing the roofs from caving in and the walls from giving way. If you look closely, you can see the lower siding boards are newer than the boards above. This was when the building was raised. The lower boards were not able to be reused. Frank Davy, not content with just his store alone, he took over the stage line to Bearmouth, Montana, and freight lining business. He named his 2 workhorses Bald and Eagle and kept them in the barn behind the Wells Hotel. Frank Davy never struck it rich, but his willingness to extend credit kept many a miner from going hungry. From 1898 until Davy's death in 1947, you could buy life's necessities here in his store: groceries, blasting powder, kerosene lamps, school pens, or ladies' high-button shoes, all under one roof. This store served as one of Garnet's few mercantile businesses after the 1912 fire. While adults remember Davy's kind acts, children knew him as a grouchy man deserving of frequent pranks. The end of Davy's store marked Garnet's beginning of a ghost town. If you attended the auction of Davy's store's contents on November 8, 1947, you could have walked away with treasures such as a good blower for a forge, or whatever you want it for, women's drawers when women wore chaps for breeches, old-fashioned coffee grinder, hardware galore, antique guns, all listed in the auction poster. Frank A. Davy purchased the store from Judson and Blaisdell in 1901. The building is one of the earliest in Garnet. Built before 1898, Davy's store sold dry goods, shoes, jewelry, canned goods, mining tools, and cuts of meat, among other things. The store boasted a hardware section, an office that weighed gold, and in 1910 functioned as the post office. The meat and other perishables were stored in the ice house, which also contained 3 secret compartments built into the walls. There, gold would safely await shipment down the hill. The annex was added to the east side of the store to keep a supply of essentials such as flour and sugar. These items were only sold in emergency situations, a policy that angered many of the townspeople. Frank Davy operated the store until 1947. Before moving to Garnet, Davy worked in the grocery department of the Missoula Mercantile. Davy had received the patent for the Garnet claim. So much of the town was built on his land, but it never made him rich. When he died in 1947 while out walking to one of his mining claims it was the Elks organization that buried him because his assets could not cover the cost of his burial. His belongings, along with the store items, were auctioned off in 1948. With Davy's passing, Garnet officially became a ghost town. The Antiquities Act on June 8, 1906, President Theodore Roosevelt signed the Antiquities Act into law, thus establishing the first general legal protection of cultural and natural resources in the United States. This law also allows the President of the United States to set aside public land as national monuments. Since 1906, several other protective laws have been passed, but the Antiquities Act started it all. Without legislative protection, buildings would have been torn down and artifacts carted away, removing critical information needed to learn about places like Garnet. Because of this act, visitors are better able to enjoy this town by being able to take a step back into history. The 1865 gold strike on Bear Creek in the Garnet Range drew prospectors from far and wide. The gold that washed down from the spring runoff promised rich quartz veins, but without the road and little water for placer mining, the mother lode proved elusive. For 30 years, prospectors eked out a living until road construction finally allowed access to heavy equipment. Placer mining transitioned to hard rock mining, and in 1895, partners Dr. Armistead Mitchell and Dr. Charles Mussenbrod developed a stamp mill at nearby First Chance Gulch. When Samuel Ritchie struck a rich vein of gold at his Nancy Hanks mine just west of the mill in 1896, Garnet sprang to life. The town attracted more families than did Montana's earlier mining camps. Dances, hayrides, quilting bees, and picnics provided family-oriented social activities. Garnet supported numerous saloons, but its family emphasis tempered usual mining camp vices. Cordial mining relations between independent mine owners and mining unions, contrasted with single company towns such as Butte and Phillipsburg, prompted the Garnet Mining News and proclaimed the town as a poor man's paradise. Through boom and bust, Frank and Davy steadfastly believed in Garnet's future. As owner of the general store, hotel, and stage line, Davy was Garnet's most prominent resident. Today, the remaining commercial false front and log dwelling reflected Garnet's lifespan from 1895 through 1948. Since 1972, the Bureau of Land Management has stabilized many of the town buildings and vigilantly oversees its historic resources. 1906 style shopping. Pretend you've entered the store in 1906 with a shopping list. Need a shirt? Look to the left at long shelves heaped with clothes, lamps, dishes, pots and pans, linens, vases, and utensils. Pick out a pair of boots from the center table. For groceries, you'll need peas, rice, pickles, dried beans, or apples, all stored in barrels. Next, a few canned goods, and then cross the sawdust floor to order fresh beef. Ask Frank Davy to grind some coffee too. Finally, catch up on the town's gossip with a couple of friends seated close to the potbelly stove. Davy's 1906 prices. 1 dozen eggs was 30 cents, 1 pound of butter, 30 cents, 1 can of salmon, 20 cents, 1 can of milk, 10 cents, 1 lamp chimney, 15 cents, 1 can of coffee was 25 cents, 1 can of oysters, 15 cents, shaving soap, 10 cents. The J.K. Wells Hotel. As we look up here, the door you see on the second floor once served as an entry for heavy trunks. Guests hooked their luggage to a rope that ran through the pulley that is still above. To the right side of the hotel was the Miners' Union Hall. A strong labor union kept the peace. Today, only photos and stories remain of the Miners' Union Hall that once resonated with dances, theater, harvest festivals, weddings, church services, and union meetings. Workers completed the massive building on June 20th, 1898. The union negotiated with mine owners for fair pay, working hours, safety rules. All miners joined the Garnet Western Labor Union. The mine owners endorsed the union and even donated this property, located on the Mary Anderson claim. The union helped to ensure the festivities and unity rather than violent labor disputes would be the order of the day. Smelling cigar smoke. Actually smells pretty good. A touch of elegance in the wilderness. Mrs. Wells believed in luxury. She designed Garnet's finest building as if it would be gracing the streets of Helena. Carved molding, stained glass, printed wallpaper, and chandeliers added frills to a solidly constructed 3-story hotel. The Garnet community celebrated the hotel's opening with 3 nights of music and dancing. As you walk in the front door, envision opening wood doors carved with intricate designs that framed stained glass windows. The streets were muddy, but the Wells Hotel was elegant. heart and hearth of the hotel. One day at the century's turn, a Swedish immigrant named Anna Lindahl walked into the kitchen at 5 a.m., ready to serve guests their breakfast. The day before, she had boarded the train from Missoula for Bearmouth. Unfortunately, the Garnet stage had not waited for any train passengers. Unfazed, Anna hiked the steep 12 miles into town in the dark, arriving just in time to start her new job. In 1902, Frank Davy bought the Wells Hotel for almost a song. The owner of Davy's store settled in the safety of the kitchen. Here, he could feed the wood stove from his bed, one stick at a time. Davy harbored a deathly fear of fire. Several of his homes in Garnet had burned down. Arthur A. Grant, a descendant of one of the original miners in Garnet, donated the Mary Anderson mining claim to the Garnet Preservation Association and the Bureau of Land Management. This claim contains many of the remaining downtown commercial buildings, the old town jail, the schoolhouse, and numerous cabins. This generous donation ensures the preservation of these important historical sites. We honor Arthur A. Grant and his family for their contribution to the restoration and preservation of the Garnet Ghost Town. The Grant's family donation is a priceless gift to the future generations, offering a timeless window into Garnet's past. J.K. Wells Hotel was built in the winter of 1897 and was one of the most impressive buildings in Garnet. Mrs. Wells designed it after one she owned in Bearmouth. With its elaborate woodwork, it was equal to the luxurious buildings in Helena. Originally, one would have entered through beautifully carved doors with stained glass windows. To the left was ladies' parlor, on the right stood the hotel office, and moving forward, as a guest would enter the grand dining room, such events as the Grand Masquerade, Hard Times Ball, and the St. Patrick's Day Calico Ball were held in this room. While this was a very modern building, there was no plaster walls or insulation. The walls were covered with cloth-backed wallpaper. Heating the large building required 2 stoves in the dining room. Rising warm air heated the upstairs rooms. Access to these rooms was by oak staircase. The outhouse behind the hotel was accessed by descending steps from the second floor. The interior of the lower regions was heavily whitewashed for the ultimate in sanitary conditions. After the Wells Hotel closed in the 1930s, Frank Davy moved into the kitchen. Davy maintained several rooms for visiting friends, but in unkept rooms, mushrooms grew out of the still-made beds. When Davy died in 1947, everything left in the hotel was sold in auction. Can you imagine how heavy this chair's got to be? Still got the enamel on it.
Jim. And the day bed and the chairs. All they're using the same stud idea.
It's a nice bathtub.
I know.
What do you think so far?
It's cool.
It is cool.
Oh, is there a room behind that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Most preserved looking one too.
This one's the fanciest of them all.
Victor photograph.
Mm-hmm. Tyler's eyes probably got wide with that one.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna do a quick photo. These old buildings are just so cool.
They really high quality too.
I know, they really are.
This is
Yeah,
sweet.
that's when they built everything.
Sleepy Hollow syrup. Frisbees, extra fancy, maple sugar.
That makes sense why they had like bigger beds in here then. This is a whole like seamstress job. Kaylee, does that look like a yarn winder in the on the desk? It totally does. It definitely does. Because at first I was like maybe it's some type of lamp. And it still could be that though.
Yeah, without the glass piece in it. But it does that one.
Does it also like
Can we try to get a picture of us all living in the mirror?
yeah.
I love it after we use that. I like it.
Dude, can you take it?
The sign reads, Common Quarters. Poor miners walked up the stairs past private, well-pampered rooms and soft beds to the top floor. There, they stretched out their bedroll. The 1x2s that are still nailed to the floor are all that remain of the simple plank walls that sectioned off each man's rented space. This floor was heated only by the warm air that filtered up from the floors below. These simple quarters offered an amenity found nowhere else in Garnet. The miners were able to lay on their backs and gaze at the stars shining through the skylights. Sled runners. Old clay tile chimney, or just clay chimney. Man. The Visitor Center, once a lively saloon. Not so long ago, you might have entered this visitor center and found a jovial Ollie and Marion doll waiting to serve you. The couple built Ollie's Tavern in 1938 and kept the doors open through the early 1960s. Locals affectionately called their favorite hangout the Joint. The dolls chose a site where another tavern once stood. Oh look, she found the gift shop. In the late 1890s, Garnet resident Mel Stairs opened a saloon and restaurant. He sold it to a teamster Charlie Davis, who added gas lighting in the shape of slide trombones. Fire destroyed the original saloon, but not the local thirst for taverns.
We do have our
A cold drink on a hot day, the dolls stocked a cooler behind the bar and kept alcoholic beverages in the root cellar under the building. Power came from a generator in the shed between the tavern and the dolls' home.
Well,
It's right there.
but you need to go to Goblin State Park.
Is that in the area?
Yes, it's, Moab is down this road, and you have to get out on the highway, and Goblin State Park is down on this state road.
If it's heading west, because
Get this little side trip in.
I know,
Grab it
exactly.
when you can.
Yeah.
Yep,
exactly.
that's what you do. He's your king.
I know.
Oh, there's some lead seal.
Yeah. So all of these were found in the town when they did the archaeologic survey for preservation. And we had so many of, like, obviously these types of cans that were like, hey, let's...
Preserve a few.
Yes.
You know,
Oh yeah, I know. I've discovered. Well, I never heard of gold.
I know.
Yeah.
I was impressed by that too.
These ones
Wide angle lens.
But we had a
And then
great
in the
time.
50s they went to a different
And now it's all.
And we
Yeah.
had no issue.
Yeah, thank you.
What we're looking at here is just a shed on the backside of Ollie and Marion Doll's cabin here. And it looks to me like there's a little roadway that runs between them, but was once all their property. Last time we were here, we did not have time to visit any of this stuff.
Oh, heck yeah, we'll take all advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one actually looks a little more modern.
It does.
With a little kind of a fun room on the front. I do think it'd be fun for us to get a little,
Yeah.
but no, with just those two buildings is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna.
I would say that had to go good with the glacier one.
Oh yeah, I saw that and I thought, oh, Tyler would love that, but you didn't think.
Jack and Christine Core, the last full-time residents of this cabin, lived here in the mid-1940s through the early 1950s. Christine, the daughter of Gus and Maggie Olson, was one of 6 children. Maggie was a cook at the Mountain View Mine boarding house. Christine and her siblings would help their mother with cooking and other chores in the mine. Jack, a miner at the Mountain View, met Christine there. They married in 1942 and later had 3 boys, one of which perished not long after birth.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so this is probably another rental cabin.
Yeah.
Figure if it's got a propane tank. Yeah, got a little buggy in there. This log building was constructed between 1896 and 1900. It originally was quite a nice cabin, but during World War I, Frank A. Davy acquired it and turned it into a livery shed. By removing a few logs, Davy could store his stagecoach inside. Known as a Democrat, the coach was just a spring wagon with 2 seats and a fancy name. Charlie Moore operated this business for Davy for 4 years.
Amish households use batteries actually for bikes. Like those guys took with them, I believe, though? Not really. Yes, really. It's batteries. Also, they have an Amish community. What? I also they have batteries in an Amish community and Amish households.
These gas lamps.
Exactly.
The Hannaford House was a 1.5-story board and batten structure which was built in the era of the 1900s by Hugh Hannafin. He lived in it until 1960. Mrs. Cleary, a school teacher, lived there until 1926. It represents one of the nicer homes in Garnet by being built with vertical boards instead of typical logs. The house also has a 10-foot ceiling in the kitchen, a mark of a fine home during the Victorian era. This kind of construction made heating the home expensive. This one's kind of centrally located. It's got a pretty decent story to it. The sign reads, "Newlyweds." Can you imagine honeymooning here in Montana's Garnet Range, listening to coyotes howling at the moon and the wind murmuring in the pines? How would you like to move in rent-free? For a few years, beginning in 1917, Frank Davy of Davy's Store offered a miner's cabin to newlyweds until they could build their own dwelling or until the next wedding bells rang, whichever came first. The town's many married couples helped shape the family atmosphere that distinguished Garnet from the typical mining boom towns. Here you'll find more family picnics, fishing, quilting bees, and berry harvesting than gunfights and barroom brawls. Built between 1896 and 1900, the honeymoon cabin was constructed by a miner who lived on Frank Davy's land. Davy acquired the cabin when the miner left, and he began letting newlyweds live in it rent-free in 1917. They could stay until a new couple got married or needed a place to stay. You can see they filled the gaps with other pieces of lumber.
I know, it does. I didn't know how warm it was going to be here, so it should have worked. I'm looking at this house. I guess I don't know where else the paths go, because this is the main, yeah, there's one way back. Hey Tyler, we're heading, oh there you go.
Pretty cool too.
Happens, but
Poop. This long barn stable was built between 1896 and 1900. There is a loft above the stables for storing feed for the horses.
I think the photo is definitely better from this side with the sun behind us.
Hi, Jess.
I think this might be the one that we thought looked way out there, but it's not really, I guess.
That's one I didn't have time for.
Oh, yeah.
We can head over there and then leave.
The blacksmith shop opened between 1896 and 1900. Billy Liberty was the best blacksmith in town. He made horseshoes and commonly forged items. Billy worked for the mines twofold, by building ore wagons and driving them to the mills. He also drove the stage to Bearmouth for Frank Davy in the early 1920s. The sign reads, "Horsepower depended on Billy Liberty's forge." Just as an auto repair shop keeps her cars on the road, Billy Liberty's blacksmith shop kept horses shod and wagons moving. He worked the bellows of a fiery forge and artfully shaped red-hot iron on his anvil. If you walked inside sometime after 1898, you'd see horseshoes of all sizes hanging on the walls and stalls for 2 horses. A tub of water stood handy by the forge. Liberty also sharpened picks for the miners and forged common household items. The smithy rivaled Davy's Store as the town's linchpin. If you didn't find Billy Liberty sweating at the forge, you might find him in a buffalo hide coat driving the stage to Bearmouth. Then again, you might see him in a suit and tie dining at the Wells Hotel. Liberty ran the stage line for Frank Davy in the 1920s. Blacksmith, stage driver, and gentleman, Billy Liberty left his mark on Garnet before eventually retiring to Missoula. Liberty's forge never caused a fire, but in the late 1930s, a fire inside his cabin stove destroyed his home next door. Billy moved into the Wells Hotel with Frank Davy for his remaining Garnet years. The jail was erected in 1897, but never received much use. During the early days, there were shootings and problems with claim jumpers, but people generally would work out their issues without using the jail. The jail sign reads, "Maximum security cell." A log cabin might not look like much of a jail, but step inside. You'll notice a few security features unlike those found in any other buildings here. The log ceiling and floor prevented prisoners from digging out. One small window let light in. The jail opened its doors as Garnet saloons welcomed the new gold rush in 1897. This cabin probably served as a drunk tank more than anything else. The miners' union presided over the miners' court to handle disputes. Very few records remain about anyone being jailed here. One newspaper article from the Phillipsburg Mail explains that 4 men were placed in jail after a fight in the saloon broke out and a man, Thomas H. McGuire, was stabbed. Mr. McGuire survived, and the 4 prisoners were transferred to Drummond to avoid a vigilante situation. Jail remodeled, home sweet home. Garnet settlers always preferred to recycle buildings rather than start from scratch. The jail could have stood idle after the Garnet boom subsided. Instead, when miners returned during the Jefferson era of the 1930s, someone spotted the jail as a stout home in need of extra windows and amenities. The last resident, Mr. Stoddard, lived here in the early 1960s while collecting weather data. The photo on the sign was taken in 1980, before the stabilization of the building. This building was built in 1938 and served as the Garnet School. The original Garnet School was constructed near the site in 1897, facing the road where there was a high footbridge leading across the gulch. Education, rare in mining towns. You'll still find one-room schoolhouses scattered across Montana's rural landscape, but rarely in early mining towns. Unlike the male-dominated mining towns of Virginia City or Bannock, Garnet always attracted families with children. This schoolhouse dates to 1938 when it replaced an earlier school built in 1897, a short distance from here. The doubling of gold prices in 1934 infused enough hope into prospectors to relocate families and eventually open a new school during the second short-term boom. For reference, the gold prices actually raised from $20 to $35 per ounce as a tactic aimed at combating the Great Depression by devaluing the dollar by roughly 70%. In 1900, the schoolmistress of Garnet's first school had trouble disciplining the unruly older boys. The trustees responded with a new ruling, the subject of a poem as follows. There's a school up here at Garnet that is tough. The pupils are bright as dollars, but they're rough. The teacher is a lady, that is right. She calls them her babies, but they fight. She tries to teach good manners as she can, but the trustees have tried another plan. They have notified the scholars of the rule that the next cuss that hollers out of school must pack his little turkey and must get right out of school, for the trustees are determined that they obey the rules.
bunch of random dental floss. Yeah, I wonder what this used to be.
The front porch.
Oh, this building. Nice broken door. Very high quality home.
Here's your ice box.
Yeah. New York, this would probably be.
Put your chicken in there.
New York, you'd probably rent this for $10,000.
As is.
Yep. Yeah, that's the room that collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just from that thing in the middle there. Started collapsing already. Very high quality stable floor. Oh my gosh.
This one's not strong enough to support me.
Huh?
I said this one is not strong enough to support me. I can hear it creaking.
There's some maggots on the floor.
Poop. Stairs.
I'm just trying to keep it equal, balanced weight.
Yeah, but not in the middle. The outer edges. Because it doesn't have a center stringer. There we go. I'm safe here. Coming down safely, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm on my last percent. Battery. Oh yeah, so it was this first board that's I was stepping on that was kind of given a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty far span to be on these. Yeah. Wise not to go out there. Okay, let's get out of here. Queen of Athens, Coleman Fuel.
Yeah.
deck?
No, someone didn't throw it in there. It just,
Oh, it just
collapsed.
collapsed?
Oh, yeah. 'Cause it's been just rotting down in the moisture for years without anyone caring for it.
The criminals, if it was this back room.
Oh, yeah. Back
Or-
section.
You would think so, but
Well,
then
it said
that's the
only
weakest.
One small window was allowed. It
So
must
that's
have been
it.
this. 'Cause that
That's
is
the window.
Well, that's the main room.
It is the main room.
Yeah, so maybe that was the entrance, and this was the. I don't know though.
I'm sure they had it separated out.
I can see it definitely being a medical
Yes.
They kind of.
type thing. That was the back section. That was probably the weakest part.
These cabins were the homes of miners. They built their cabins quickly using whatever materials were most easily obtained so time could be put into mining.
Well, yeah,
Logs notched at the corners fit closer together, requiring less daubing to fill in spaces. Daubing material came from whatever was on hand, usually mud, grass, and moss. The board roofs leaked badly, so later corrugated iron was used to make them more waterproof. Glass windows were so expensive that putty was used to put broken pieces back in the hole. Occasionally, miners put too much wood in their wood stove, causing them to become red hot. Several cabins were known to have burned down in this manner. Fire safety.
Nobody was giving it out. There was just like free reeds in the store thing. That's how we have to
Where is this happening? Is this at school? Was this just here that we missed? Like, what are you talking
That's
about?
a store.
What
in there.
store?
The one that I got that
The visitor center?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I feel like you should have started with that and then that would have really helped.
I didn't steal anything. Ah, right.
These look like almost little chicken houses or
I guess that's true because you were
shelter for farm animals or something.
Yeah, because it was right in the fold. It would have been caught if I was actually stealing.
He's sure defending himself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, maybe not. Maybe it was just a tiny cabin. Who knows?
Really seemed to be blaming me.
Little 2-bedroom. Door is very sketchy.
Very stable, you mean? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A little cabin. Oh, the floor is just demolished. Little 2-bedroom. Door is very sketchy.
Very stable, you mean? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I like the board and batten roof. Just do 2 layers, that way it's less likely to leak. And then crown up, crown down.
Even though all the nails are way too long. You should have just used power equipment.
Yep. It's a cool view of the town. Living up on the Snob Hill.
I can't tell if there's anything further.
Lonesome Pine. My pines. The McDonald cabin was built by the Hall brothers in the early 1930s. It lacks the board-on-board roof typical in the early 1890s cabins. This cabin can be rented in the winter. This cabin may have been a rented residence of the Joseph and Catherine Fitzgerald family. They later built a permanent residence up Dublin Gulch in 1911. Joseph operated a saloon with a rooming house upstairs on Main Street until it burned down in the fire of 1912. It's weird that they have two doorways here.
Yeah,
They couldn't afford double doors.
True.
it is weird. I was thinking that, but the door's too close. Well, but then if they are, then it's like more symmetrical though.
That's not nailed in.
After President Roosevelt announced a price increase for gold and it became profitable to mine again, people returned to Garnet. Glenn and Edith Howey lived in the Kelly's saloon while they built this frame house in 1937. This structure has 3 rooms, a bedroom, a kitchen, a front room used as a living room. In their home, they had modern conveniences such as a radio, washing machine, sink, and kerosene-powered refrigerator. Mm-hmm.
Oh. This one down here is locked as well. Looks like people still live in it.
Oh yeah, this one? Yeah, that one's.
Yeah.
Oh wow, they've got an old jacket in here.
Yep. Looks like a fridge. slash freezer.
They're starting to rebuild or support it at least with 2x4s. Oh yeah, and a laundry machine.
Don't want to break it.
No. Now you can see your neighbor's bathroom too. Hey George, hey Sam, how's it going? Oh, just, you know, taking a dump. Oh, may it go really well for you. This is the married couple's house. The Adams house was built between 1896 and 1900. It was among the nicer homes in Garnet, although constructed from logs, not boards as it appears. A covered passageway led to the woodshed and outhouse. Miss Ginny Adams filled her parlor with plants, which further added to its fine appearance, as did the white picket fence around the front yard. The Adams family lived from 1904 to 1927. Mrs. Adams had the post office in the house until 1910. In 1927, a second family, Nels and Lena Seaton, moved in. The Adams house sign reads, "Tragedy marked the early years of Mr. and Mrs. Sam Adams, one of Garnet's more comfortable family homes built in the late 1800s. First, a newborn son died in a Missoula hospital. Mrs. Adams then delivered a baby girl at the home in 1912 and saved her from a living room fire a few months later, only to lose her to illness just before the age of 3. In an era before antibiotics and the polio vaccine, many children died. Mary Jane, born in 1917, lived here until 1927 when her family moved to Missoula. Mary Jane's memories of Garnet have helped bring this ghost town alive for everyone who visits today. After Sam Adams died in 1928 at the age of 62, his business partner took control of their 2 mines, leaving Mrs. Adams deeply in debt. Despite the blow, she kept the family afloat by running a boarding house in Missoula that sheltered several former Garnet residents, including Billy Liberty. The remnant siding covering the logs indicated level of prosperity. Sam Adams supported his family by more than just mining. He ran a general merchandise store until 1918, then took up carpentry, and even built the first Union Peak fire lookout. Mrs. Adams also ran the post office out of their home for a while. This sign inside reads, "Mary Jane and her parents shared these 2 rooms. She often played with dolls in a buggy, but her best friend in town of few children was her beloved black cat. When Sam Adams' ill health forced them to move to Missoula, they had to wait a year before he could return to remove the rest of the furnishings. The cat had to find a new home in Garnet." Mary Jane remembers, "We brought our 2 trunks on the stage and left in a hurry. We had to leave most everything. I can still see my kitty on the porch looking at me as we drove off," Mary Jane had said. The wind rushing around the buildings is cool. The post office was built between 1896 and 1900 as the miner's cabin. Nell Seaton was the postmaster in the late 1920s when he moved into the Adams house. I wonder if this was the original wagon trail too, coming up here. This house here and the following were all homes of miners. Coming up on 12. And there's 1 left. 2 left, technically. Oh, yes, this was the one we were assuming was the animal house, I think. This is where I broke off. No, not quite. Heel of a shoe. I actually have a hard time imagining not only just 1,000 people living here, but when it was close to becoming a ghost town in 150. They've got houses spread out throughout the hills here. Many of them are gone. A few stand. And they're slowly rebuilding some of the locations as well. It is truly difficult to imagine how hard life must have been back then. Without any, we don't have a way to imagine it. I mean, everything's just so easy for us. We live in such a cush world now. But yeah, this is one of the coolest ghost towns in this area. This is a really cool spot. It captures your imagination so much more with the background stories to go with some of this stuff too. You know, the newlyweds, the couple that, you know, the husband got sick and they had to get out of town, head towards Missoula all of a sudden. It's those stories that really capture your imagination and kind of help bring you back to the way things were back then. This is definitely a place you have to visit. It is well worth your trip. There's a lot of old artifacts here that can really kind of help you imagine the way things were as well. Some of the old skis and mining equipment too. But yeah, this is truly a cool spot. But as people start to vacate and get out of here, the silence and just having the sounds of nature around you really adds to the feel. Even as we're closing down at 4:30, there's still people rolling in. Little ground squirrels running around, prairie dogs. That's a ground squirrel out there. And the sound of the creek down below too. It's a cool town. Thanks for joining us on the second trip to the Garnet Ghost Town. I'm hoping I can do some narration over top to fill in some of the storylines behind each one of these structures as we're going through. That way it's not just the sound of me scraping along and pausing for 10 minutes, standing at a sign reading, so I can just do a B-roll over top. Well, be sure to, if you're ever in this part of Montana, be sure to check out the Garnet Ghost Town. It's really cool. A lot of history here, a lot of cool stories. Signing out.
Some trees.
Yeah, I think every single trail has.
Allegedly, this is a cute trail.
No, there are some trails that are not
It's
cute at
because
all.
those abandoned houses.
This is,
Huh.
How is it good?
you guys, I don't know how to explain it. It needs to
We're
have
still trying to
edges.
figure out the definition of cute trail and not cute trail.
Here's our prominence town.
It's got to be windy,
The trail is well trimmed.
True.
trimmed trail.
And it has borders.
Oh yeah, your trail has to have borders.
No, some don't. Some are literally on the side of a mountain.
Those are cute.
With no, those are those. No, those don't fit.
Those are well trimmed.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent border.
This is so cool. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Either you're on the trail or down the mountain.
This was the overlook when the lightning was going.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know. And I should have just stayed longer.
Yeah.
The old shoulda, coulda.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Oh, there's a little outlook for the best photos. So you guys came when there was still snow, right?
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
Mm-mm.
The
Nope,
snow
we
was-
just got a random rainstorm.
Oh, okay.
Looks like it's either
Oh my
a
gosh.
hotel or a
That is a hotel, yes.
saloon.
That looks just, yeah, it looks just like how they do in the movies when they make everything look old. It looks like weird. It's like they got it from the old buildings or something.
Weird. So in order to have an old looking movie, if you take stuff from days of yore,
Mm-hmm.
You
From
could-
way back, like
way
the
back,
Ice Age
back in
kind
the
of
day.
stuff. Yeah.
Ice Age.
back in the day, you can take, maybe renderings and models from what it used to look like,
You can build new stuff
And-
and make it look old
and you can make it look
by
old.
looking at pictures of old buildings. It's quite amazing.
amazing.
It's amazing.
Hmm.
It is.
Deep Thoughts by Melissa.
Make that a sub-series.
Don't put that on YouTube. by the way.
It's probably never gonna make it on YouTube.
Oh,
ever.
God.
Yeah.
Totally gonna put it on.
Nope.